Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Lessons at Fingertips. Here we discuss on some important topics in really simple words so that it's easier for you all to understand and keep things in mind. So today our topic of discussion is going to be another economical model which is called as the production possibility frontier. Earlier we have discussed already about an economical model which was called as the circular flow model, and now we are going to discuss about the production possibility frontier. Well, what does a production possibility frontier is? What does it show? A production possibility frontier shows various combination of two commodities. Various combinations of two commodities. In a production possibility frontier, we take into consideration what? Two commodities. So, if I am drawing an x-axis and a y-axis, this is commodity X and this is commodity Y, for example. So, we are taking what? We are going to take various combination of two commodities that can be consumed with a fixed amount of resources. Not only consumed, you can also say that can be produced with a fixed amount of resources. The one who is consuming also have a limited resource. The one who is producing also have a limited resource. Limited resource in terms of money. So, one who is producing, he can produce only to the extent that the market, in the market there is the demand exists, or the one who is consuming can consume only to the extent till which he have the resources. So, the same thing lies here is that a PPF shows various combinations of two commodities that can be consumed with a fixed amount of resources. Okay. Now, it shows what all the different combination of output that can be produced at a given resources and technology. Remember always, whenever the goods are produced with a given resources, the technology is taken to be constant. You cannot consider an improvement in technology while you are making at a particular time the PPF. Why? Because when technologies are improved, the quantity produced also improves. With the given amount of resources, the quantity produced might improve. So that cannot happen. Okay. So that is why it is always assumed that the technology is said to be constant and the resources are fixed. Okay. There will be no increase or decrease in resources. So what they are saying that the various combinations of good that is produced. Always now remember one thing. Let me show you. This is the PPF. The PPF curve always shows like this. What does this imply? Then when all the resources are utilized for producing X, right? What is the maximum amount of X produced? Till here. Suppose 100 unit. Suppose 100 unit. And to produce 100 unit of X, Y cannot be produced. Y has to be 0. Y has to be 0, and to produce 50 unit of Y, X has to be 0, right? What does that imply? That all the limited resources are utilized for producing either the full of Y or the full of X. Got it? So this is about the PPF curve. Now you see there are so many various combinations that we can get either, but what you can see is that whenever we are increasing the consumption or the production or the consumption of Y, we are increasing the production or consumption of Y, that of the X is falling. If you are increasing that for the X, then that of the Y is falling. Understanding? So what does that imply? As the resources are very limited, there is no increase in resources and the technologies are also considered to be constant. Whenever there will be an increase in the consumption or the production of one commodity, there should be a reduction. There should be a fall in the consumption or production of another commodity. This is what the PPF says. That is why the PPF is what? Downward sloping. It's what? Downward sloping. The PPF also states the scarcity and trade-off. Yes, here we have seen what is the scarcity, what is the trade-off. What is the trade-off? We know, right, in Phillips curve we have a trade-off of unemployment and inflation. Isn't it? What does that imply? That if you are choosing, you will have to choose between unemployment or inflation. Okay, so that is what here also we have the trade-off. We have to choose that which commodity has to be produced, X or Y. Depending on the demand, we will be choosing कि market में what is the demand, isn't it? So that is what is happening here, that this PPF also shows what scarcity and trade-off between two commodities. PPF is also used to demonstrate the point that any nation's economy reaches its greatest level when it produces only what is best qualified to produce and trades with other nations for the rest of what is needed. What does this imply? PPF in fact states that whenever a country, what does this imply? You know, this implies the comparative advantage. I am coming to the point. Whenever a country, like it says that a country should produce something which the country is good at. What does that imply? That with the given amount of resources, the maximum quantity that it can produce. So if with the given amount of resources, a country can produce 100 unit of X and 50 unit of Y, that means what? The country is specialized in producing X, isn't it? Because with the given amount of resources, the maximum X that can be produced is 100 and that of Y can be produced is just 50. So, where is it having the comparative advantage? Comparative advantage of X they are having, isn't it? So, the country should definitely go for producing X, and for Y, what should the country do? It should do the trade. So, they will trade with another country. Suppose this is country A and here is country B. Country B produces what? 50 unit of X with the given amount of resources and 100 unit of Y with the given amount of resources. So, country B is specializing in producing what? Commodity Y, and that of country A is specializing in producing what? That of commodity X. So, what they are going to do? Country A is going to sell X to country B and in return country B is going to sell Y to country A. Isn't it very simple? So, from where we are going to get? We are going to analyze this from the PPF curve, that which country is specializing in what kind of good, and the good in which they have the comparative advantage, they should produce that and they should trade that for the exchange of another commodity in which they do not have a comparative advantage or they do not specialize. Understanding? So, here what it is said, that the PPF is also used to demonstrate the point that any nation's economy reaches its greatest level when it produces only what is best qualified to produce and trades with the other nation for the rest of what is needed. Okay, so the commodity in which it is very much specialized, so that commodity should be produced by the country, and for the rest of the commodity it can make the trade. Understood? Very simple. Now they are telling what, as per business analysis, production of a commodity can only increase if the production of another is decreased, as we have discussed earlier. If you want to increase the production of X from this point to this point, from 25 to 75 for example, then earlier when X was 25, Y was, let it be 40. But now when X is 75, Y is let it be 20. Understood? So, for increasing the production of one commodity, the production of another commodity has to be decreased. Why? Because the resources are limited. Understood? So, this is what the PPF is saying. Next, it is said that when PPF shifts outwards implies growth in the economy. Means what? So, if here is the PPF, here is the PPF, right? Now, this was the combination. Suppose this is the combination. If the PPF is shifting outward like this, what does that imply? The resources have increased. Now, the producers can produce this much. Isn't it? Isn't it? So, what does that imply? That there is a growth in the economy. The resources have increased. We have more resources and now we can produce more. Isn't it? Without reducing another commodity. If the Y produces at the same level, then what you can see? The X can be increased, the production of X can be increased without reducing the production of Y, which is the natural property. As per the normal PPF, what does that imply? That if I want to increase the production of X, I will have to reduce the production of Y. But if the production possibility curve shifts outward, implies what? The resources have increased. So now I can increase the production of X without reducing the production of Y. So that is what is said here, is that when PPF shifts outward, implies growth in the economy, and vice versa. If PPF curve is shifting inward, this was the PPF, this is my what I have or what I can produce. Now if it is shifting inward means if I want to produce the same level of Y, I have to reduce the production of X. I still have to reduce the production of X. Why? Because now the PPF have come inside, have turned to be inward, right? Means what? The economy have reduced, the resources, availability of resources have reduced. So now for producing the same amount of Y, I will have to reduce the production of X. So next here it is saying what? Now we are moving to another concept, that is of the Pareto efficiency and PPF. How come we can relate that? What is Pareto efficiency? Do you know? Pareto efficiency states is a situation where no individual can be better off without or at least one of the individual being worse off. Means you are already in a situation, Pareto efficiency states a situation where one individual to better off, means similar thing as increasing the production. If you want to increase the production of one commodity, you will have to reduce the production of another commodity. So Pareto efficiency is a position, is a point of efficiency where for increasing for one individual to better off, there has to be another individual who needs to be worse off. So Pareto efficiency is a situation where no individual can better off without at least one of the individual or preference worse off. So if one individual wants to have a better off, then another individual has to worse off. Got it? So that is the Pareto efficiency part. Now if I am relating Pareto efficiency with PPF, how am I going to do? Pareto efficiency states that any point within a PPF is inefficient. Yes. For example, suppose if I show you, wait just a second, this is very important thing. For example, you see this is the PPF, right? This is the PPF. This is the production of X, this is the production of Y. Y is produced as 50, X is produced as 100. Now if the production is taking place somewhere here, like this and this, is this efficient? No. Point A is not efficient. Why? Resources are not fully utilized. Where are the efficient resources lying? On the PPF curve. So it should have been produced from here till here. Then it would have been efficient. Point B is efficient, right? So earlier when you were producing 25 units of Y and you are producing here what? 50 units of X. Isn't it? 25 units of Y and 50 units of X. A point is not efficient because while you are making the production of Y of 25 units, you have the capacity to produce X of 90 units. Understood? You have the capacity, but you are producing what? Only 50 units. So 40 units ka loss you are doing. Now you are not producing, you are wasting the resources. That is not efficient production. Whenever the production is done on the PPF curve, that is the efficient production. And what about point C, which is lying here? Can we produce this? We do not even have the resources to produce this. This also becomes inefficient. Why? Because we do not have the resources to produce this. Because I see here the Pareto efficiency says that any point within a PPF is inefficient. Why? Because the output of the commodity is below the capacity. Your capacity is to produce 90 units of X while you are producing 25 units of Y, but you are producing only 50 units of X while producing 25 units of Y. So you are working below capacity. Similarly, any point outside the PPF is impossible. Why? The resources are limited. We do not have so much of resources to produce 120 units of X while producing almost 40 units of Y. We do not have the resources to produce that. Maximum X I can produce is 100. How can I produce 120? I can't. So that is not in my capacity. Why? Because the resources are limited. What does Pareto efficiency state? The Pareto efficiency is a situation where no individual can be better off without at least one of the individual or preferences were solved. So I hope you guys have understood this whole discussion about PPF. From here itself you can understand what is PPF is the property having. They are downward sloped PPF, right? For increasing the production of one commodity or consumption of one commodity, another has to be reduced. Why? Because the resources are limited. So what we have discussed about the PPF, how it works, then we have discussed about the comparative advantage, that how a country should perform the trade, when should a country perform trade, that we have discussed. We have also discussed about the Pareto efficiency and PPF. So I hope you guys have liked this video. Please do hit a like and subscribe to my channel, share with your friends for more such informative videos. Thank you. Bye bye.